knitters, welcome to episode 89, I think, of the Knitty McPurly podcast. I am Devin Ventry. You can find me online as Knitty McPurly on Instagram. My website is KnittyMcPurly.com, and if you would like to email me, I am Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm super pumped to be here. I missed last week. It was just the perfect storm of summer swim ending and starting back to homeschooling. It was the very beginning of August last weekend. And we have 1 week of school under our belt. There's 36 total. So if I can knock out a couple at the beginning of August, I'm always super happy to do that. If you are new, I have an advent calendar for sale for pre-order. Go look out for future you and go pre-order the advent calendar. It is just about every week, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, but on average, once a week, I get an email from someone saying, I love your Laetare shawl. I love the Genesis shawl. One of those things they loved and they missed, and they said, are you going to dye that again? And I say, I am so sorry. I am not going to dye that anymore. I only did it the one time for the Advent calendar or the Lent calendar, so you can't get it anymore. So look out for future you. Future you is going to see the finished product of the mystery knit along that goes with this Advent calendar. You're going to say, oh, why didn't I get that when I had the chance? So look out for future you and go pre-order the Advent calendar now. I'm working on these projects and it is so fun. Totally different from the other ones. These are winter accessories and they are so much fun. Don't miss out. It's the beginning of August. Like I said, we're in a week of school. That's super awesome. Next week, my son has basketball camp, and so I'm going to be working on reading with my daughter. But then we're full on, back into the school year. It's always nice later when you started early in August, even though it is hard. It was a hard week. Something I learned recently, if you are on Instagram and you are not seeing the people who you follow, maybe you've heard this too. Go up to where it says Instagram in the upper left part of the screen and click it. There's like a little down arrow and click on following. Like, I want to see who I'm following. Apparently Instagram's trying to be more like TikTok. I wish people would just let other people be themselves. Let Instagram be Instagram and let TikTok be TikTok. But whatever, not up to me. So if you're not seeing me on Instagram, you're not seeing the people you want to see on Instagram, go do that and that might help. You have to do it every time you open Instagram. That's the downside, but whatever. Anyway, progress and shop news. Most excitingly, I have a new design in the works. I'm super pumped about this because I didn't have anything to knit. Like, I have all these things that I'm working on in the background that I always talk about. Advent calendar, retreat, everywhere sweater pattern. I'm working on these things slowly but surely, but I didn't have anything to knit. So I'm like, I need a project. So this is a sweater that has been in my head for years. I submitted a different version of it to the Brooklyn Tweed, 2017 fall lineup or whatever, and they passed on it. That's fine. I actually like the way that I've tweaked it since then a lot more. Originally, it was like plain gray and it had a little bit of a lace motif. This one, so let me back up just a little bit. One of the things that I plan to have out by Christmas of this year is sweater quantities of 12 static colors that are always available from Knitty McPurly. I have all of those colors chosen. I have to work out, how to make them happen. But I have all the yarn. I have it all ready. It's just one of those things. There's only 24 hours in the day and I only have so much time to dedicate to it. But hopefully by Christmas, I will have those up. But two of the colors, I know I showed you Bougie and Black Forest Cake. Another color is called Trinket, and this is a very bright gold that I think is just fabulous. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. This is on Frankfurt Fingering right here, and I have paired it with Bougie on mohair. Isn't that great? Oh my gosh. So I wanted my new sweater that I'm working on to be out of colors that will be available to you in case you want to make the same one. But these are the colors that I'm using: Trinket and Bougie, Frankfurt Fingering, Munich Mohair. And the design for this sweater is just a regular crew neck, raglan shaping. But what I'm envisioning is that the raglan shaping continues all the way to the bottom of the sweater. And what you end up with is something that just kind of goes like this and is a pullover sweater. So here's what I have to start with. I've got my two colors that I'm working with. There they are, like that. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. And it's basic stripes. I'm trying to think the best way to just show it without getting all those ends in there. And we've got raglan shaping and we're striping, and this is gonna be it. Yeah, that's the back. You can see there's short rows in the back here to make the front come down a little bit, but that's all it is. It's just gonna be striped all the way, all the way, all the way, with just the trinket here and just the trinket on the bottom. And it's not really gonna have sleeves. What will happen is, imagine if you work the short row shaping all the way to the bottom. I'm sorry, not short row, raglan. You work the raglan shaping all the way to the bottom. You're going to have some of the sleeve stitches that are the cuff, and the rest are gonna be 3-needle bound off. And then the bottom is gonna be the bottom. Can you picture it? I haven't done it yet, so that's kind of what I've got in my head. We'll see. I'm excited. It's gonna be a totally interesting shape. This is a shape, like I say, I've had this shape in my head for a while, and I've never done one. I don't know why I haven't done one, but I'm excited. This is really fun to work on. The difference between working on something like this and working on, say, like the Hepburn sweater, changing colors every so many rows really makes it interesting. It's just so much more interesting than one solid color. And even if you had like one interesting color, that would be more interesting. For me, the Hepburn sweater was very boring. It was just so much beige, just miles and miles of beige. I got smart and locked the door. Okay, again, like with the Everywhere sweater, I know it is slow, and partly it's because I don't have a lot of time to work on it. Another part of the problem has been my behind the scenes technology. My laptop broke a couple months ago and I replaced it with an iPad, but the iPad is problematic when it comes to writing patterns, because when you're writing a sweater pattern, you need to have your Word document open and your Excel spreadsheet with all the grading open. And it's hard to do on the iPad. So my husband got a new computer. With just all the computers in the house shifted. He got a new computer for work, and so his old computer went to my son, and my son's old computer went to me. So once we get all of that working, then I will be able to dedicate the few hours. Like, it's not going to take a lot of time. So anyway, it's coming along. I just need to get all of the technology lined up so that we can make it happen. Also, I hired an employee. Very excited about that. She is 12. She lives in my house and she is amazing. So if you ordered an advent calendar, and when you receive it, you'll know that it was mainly assembled in the final parts of it by my wonderful employee. She's amazing. She works for minimum wage. She keeps impeccable time records, and she is fabulous. I honestly, though, I'm so glad I'm so glad that Gigi stepped up to be my employee, because I really, really needed the help. And it's good for kids to work. And 12-year-olds want to work, but they're too young to get jobs, real jobs. So yeah, it's been great. It's been just perfection. Yeah, yarn prep, skeinin, boxing, labeling, that's all her. The advent calendar, it's 5,000 mini skeins. Like that's what we're talking about, which I told her it was 5,000. She's like, Mom, that number sounds huge, but also not nearly enough. Like it seems like a lot more than that. I'm like, I know, I get it. It takes months, and that's with help. So anyway, fall is coming. So summer wool wash is on clearance. I took the last of what I had left. I had some up here and I took that downstairs to get ready to go out. It is on clearance. The wool wash is 25% off with no code needed. There's not many bottles left, but in the peony scent, that is going away because we're coming out of the summer season into the fall season. Within the next few weeks, I'm going to have a shop update at least 2 weeks away, to be determined, probably mid to late August. I will have more Amelia needle cases in a new size. My original Amelia needle case held these beautiful needles from France, but they only worked with like very thin yarn. So the Amelia needle case 2.0 will be larger, and it will have the French needles plus the larger yarn needles in there. So that'll be nice because it holds more. And I will have that in new fall colors. Hand and lip balm will be back in stock in a new fall scent. I will have more stitch markers and fall wool wash too, coming up within the next few weeks. So if you want to go grab some discounted summer scent wool wash, go pick that up now. That's available right now. Yeah, and like I said, you know, as soon as I have the advent calendars all wrapped up, I'm going to be working on sweater quantities of my 12 colors and color cards, and it's a lot of fun stuff. It's a lot of fun stuff coming up. Like I said, close to Christmas time. Okay, that's what's new. Word of the week. I've been a little under the weather. We all have been a little under the weather. It's been a lot of fluids today, a lot of resting. Yesterday I was on the couch all day. Today I've been up and about. I was only down for one day, and I wasn't even really down. Like I was able to get up and do stuff. I just felt kind of blah, but lots of liquid. That's been helping. Okay, word of the week that we're going to talk about this week is cast on. We have talked about cast-ons before as a topic, but I want to talk about the word cast on. I don't think I've talked about this before. If I double up, let me know because I do forget things. So cast on as a verb, cast as a verb originated around 1200 from Scandinavian source, meaning to throw or to throw violently, fling, hurl, to chuck, basically. Also around the 13th century, cast was used in casting glances, but you're kind of throwing a glance at someone. By the 15th century, it was used to form a mold, like a plaster cast, or to cast something in plaster. By the 17th century, you could cast a fishing line. And, in the 1630s, which is about 15-ish years after Shakespeare's death, you could be cast in a play. And in the US, in the 1840s, again, so many knitting things come from the early Victorian period. In the 1840s, you could both cast votes and you could cast on your knitting. So this took me down the Victorian era knitting rabbit hole. So many things that we've talked about, the word used in knitting came from the Victorian period. That was a time where both in England and in the US, books were being written, magazines, publications were being written, directions for knitting patterns were being written down in a modern way that is usable for regular people. So many knitting terms come from this period. So this led me down a rabbit hole, and I found this awesome website. It's jstor.org. I'll link it below in case you don't remember this. This is a website dedicated to primary sources. So I didn't deep dive into the website to find all the primary sources that they offer, but you can find that have been scanned in books on knitting from the Victorian period. Just scanned into this website, tons of them. You can scroll through them and you can look through them. I'm gonna put up a couple pictures as I'm talking. These are just a couple screenshots that I took from this website when I was looking at the knitting books. I love the ermine collar, because if you think back to like pictures of kings and queens, how they always had that ermine, it was like the thing back in the Victorian period. Okay, so the Victorian period was from 1837 until 1901. Queen Victoria was kind of like modern day Queen Elizabeth in that she reigned for a really, really long time. She was, I don't know how old she was when she became queen, but probably pretty young, just like Queen Elizabeth II, who's currently Queen of England. Like that's just, they had really, really long reigns. And about the same amount of time, around the 70-year mark. It's a really long time. But yeah, check out this website if you have any interest in Victorian knitting patterns. I actually wanted to read to you some of the directions that I found because I just thought they were so cool. Where are they? So listen to these directions for a full-size lady's stocking. To be knitted either in fine merino wool or white cotton. 4 wires, which read DPNs. Number 18. So this was, I guess, how they sized them back then. Cast on 150 stitches, which if you're a sock knitter, you know that that means that this was either very skinny needles or very fine yarn or both, or possibly these started up on the thigh. That's also a possibility. It does sound like they're really long. 50 stitches on each of 3 wires. Knit 1 purl and 1 plain for 12 rounds. Then knit plain until you have 2 finger lengths done, like this long, I guess. So yeah, this had to start up in the thigh. Then, okay, always knitting 1 stitch purl every other round for the back seam. Interesting. You now take in a stitch each side of the back seam every 7th round until you have taken in 25 times. You will now have 100 stitches on. Knit 1 finger length from where you left off taking in, which will bring you to the heel. So that's gotta be above the knee, right? Which you knit in the following manner. And then it gives the directions for knitting the heel. I'll put them up on the screen. If you want to pause it, you can, read it in more detail. But it's so interesting. Gosh, that's so interesting that these patterns were written kind of just in a paragraph. My son's asking me for screen time, and he hasn't finished his schoolwork yet. So anyway, that's where we are. We're in that season. Cool, right? So interesting. So anyway, that's kind of a topic also. Victorian knitting is kind of a topic, but I also have another topic of the week, which is completely unrelated to cast-ons because I feel like we talked about cast-ons and bind-offs in previous podcasts. One of the things I wanted to talk about is entertainment and podcasts because I want to know what you do while you're knitting. Most of us don't just sit there and stare at the wall because for most patterns, unless it's an intricate lace where you really have to be wed to the pattern, even then, I know I still have something on that I'm either listening to or watching at the same time. So we're going to talk about it, but I would love it if you would leave a comment below for a giveaway. Leave a comment telling me what you watch or listen to while you are knitting. And I will draw one at random, and that person will be entered to win a bottle of my Peony Wool Wash. I have one 8-ounce bottle left that is not on the website, and that will be the one for the giveaway. Boom, roasted, done. So, what do you watch? What do you listen to when you're knitting? For me, My very favorite entertainment while knitting is sitting on the porch talking to one person, whether it's one of my kids or my husband or a friend, which isn't as often that people come over and sit down and talk to me and knit, but I do love that. I'm not a group person so much. It's hard for me to focus in a group. It's too many people, but you just get one person to talk to and I'll talk all day. That's how I feel like this is. Like I feel like we're talking and we're hanging out. Otherwise, I'll just watch TV with my husband at the end of the day. Currently, we are rewatching, what are they called? I forget what they're called, but it's the extended episodes of The Office where they put in the extra stuff on Peacock. Season 5 came out recently, and so we're watching season 5 of The Office with all those extra scenes. And sometimes it's like 15 minutes at the end of the day, and that's all the time we have. Or it's like yesterday where I was kind of sick and I laid on the couch and watched like 10 episodes. My kids obviously are not allowed to watch it. Well, the little ones aren't. And so I'd be pausing it all the time, but I didn't knit. I wasn't feeling well enough to knit yesterday, but can't wait to get back to knitting. Okay, knitting fantasies. I want to knit cute little animals. So I did a search for cute little animals, and this adorable book by Louise Crowther came up called Knitted Animal Friends. And if you go to Amazon, you can get a tour of the book where you can see on the inside all of the different things that are available in there. It just has the cutest little animals. I didn't buy the book. I kind of thought, what if I bought the book and then I could review it on the podcast? I thought, while that would be fun, it's not really in the budget. I guess I could, my shop could buy it for the podcast, but it's just one more thing. And it's not something I actually have time to knit. So I recommend it. Definitely go check it out. It's adorable, super, super cute. There's also another knitting book that I found called Edward's Menagerie by Carrie Lord. This one is actually not a knitting book. These are animals to crochet. It's Edward's Menagerie, 50 animal patterns to crochet. I also found this super cute one by Arnie and Carlos. It's called The Field Guide to Knitted Birds. I don't think I'm particularly interested in knitting birds, though I think these would make adorable Christmas ornaments, wouldn't they? And of course, the two on the front look just like Arnie and Carlos, which are super cute. And I just love how they almost are like wearing sweaters, like they have like Fair Isle on them. So cute. Also, okay, this book, someone set their coffee down on it at one point. Let me see if I can. Okay, that's better, sort of. But this is a book that I have had in my library for a long time. It's called 50 Yards of Fun, Knitting Toys from Scrap Yarn by Rebecca Danger. And I have knit many of these little animals. They are just so cute. I've knit this elephant. And I actually knit him out of bulky yarn, so he was a good size. But they're little. They're just, and she even has, let me show you. She shows you how big they will be depending on what yarn you use. Aren't they just so cute? This book is adorable. I got this at my local yarn store a while ago, and it has a lot of detailed instructions. Also, Rebecca is a lovely person. So we've got the basic peanut body where she shows that right there. And all of these little guys are knit with the basic peanut body. So cute. I knit, there's a Sasquatch in here that I knit one time. Let's see. Okay. Basic bowling pin body. Looks like this. And all of these guys can be knit with that basic body. It looks like we've got some actual monster bowling pins. It's just so cute. I've knit a bunch of these things. Let me see if I can find the Sasquatch that I made for my husband. Yeah, his name is Yay Big Yeti. And I did not make him white, but I did use this eyelash yarn. It's so cute. I did him in this brown color. But look how cute these there's an owl. cute. Weensy woodland friend. Like, he's just whatever. It's just adorable. Look at all these little Halloween things in there. They're so cute. Rebecca used to send out a newsletter. She has other books, Knitted Monsters and the Monster Nursery. She used to send out a little newsletter that was just so happy and positive. I think the fragmentation of the knitting community that happened was hard for her. She's a really sweet, lovely person. So if you have at all any interest in that book, go pick it up because she's wonderful. But anyway, those are my knitting fantasies. Just lots of cute little animals right now. That's kind of what's on my mind. Okay, so here's what happened. This is a very serious story. It has to do with grief and working through it with knitting. I'm not going to use this person's name. I'm pretty sure she asked me not to, but I'll go ahead and read you the story. She says, I first started knitting at the end of 2015 and beginning of 2016. On February 5th, 2016, a coworker of mine was shot and killed in the line of duty. The person who submitted this is a police officer. She says, due to the stress of this event and to ensure that we were all mentally okay, we were given some time off work to process. I hadn't experienced grief like this in a really long time and had never had anyone close to me murdered. I can't imagine. It was one of the hardest things I've ever been through. During this time, I really dove into knitting. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, but I could knit. I remember sitting in my living room, tears streaming down my face so intensely that I could barely see. I felt like my grief was being poured into each stitch, and somehow it was very comforting. To me, learning to knit and processing this tragic event are very intertwined. Since then, I continue to knit on a daily basis. No day feels complete without at least a few stitches on a project. I've knit through times of joy, sadness, stress, anxiety, anger, and every emotion between. I've come to find that knitting feels a bit like therapy. I have time to think, but can also distract unwanted thoughts, depending on the difficulty of the project and the level of concentration that it requires. Wow. I think a lot of us feel like that. Knitting is such a cathartic activity. I don't know why it is, but it is. Maybe, I feel like that about other works of art, painting or weaving or building or any work of art, I think can be very cathartic and can help you process your emotions and your feelings. And this has been kind of a hard time. I was reflecting on that lately, how from 2019 until the present, it has been a little bit tough for me and for a lot of you out there. So I'm glad we have our knitting, and I'm glad we have each other, and I'm glad we have this podcast and we can connect. It's really great for me personally to connect with you guys. Thank you so much. Every time you leave a comment below, I read it and I think about it, and it makes me laugh and it makes me cry, and I feel with you. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this long, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye knitters.